do roll call first.
Chumanello.
Here.
Ballard. Sonnefield.
Here.
Ballinger. Harris. Singer. Staley Ferry. Trainier. Frizzalone.
Here.
You have a quorum. We also have Mr. Eustace and Mr. Brooks. And Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. No, I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have the approval of minutes from the February 7th meeting. Motion and second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We don't have any old business today, so we're going right to new business. And first up is a request by Will County Public Building Commission for the transfer of funds. Hey Joe, how are you today? Good.
We, the request is, and I understand there's been some other dialogue about the key portion of this, but Will County is looking for a, on our side, a transfer out of our O&M reserve, which has a balance of $2.5 million in it, 300,000, and you've done this in the past with Kankakee when they've requested funds. The bonds are paid off, 20 years, time for renegotiating the payments. We are in that year. We've reached out to Will County as well as Kankakee County, and I'd answer any questions you may have.
Well, I think, and we've have had several conversations about this, so as to not mix funds now from River Valley, I think we're better off. We know that you need to pay these bills. We would like to take the money from our cap account and have the bills sent right here, and we'll pay them right out of the cap account. We'll just keep the River Valley fund the way it is for right now.
That would be fine.
Anybody have any questions on that? All right. So we need to, what? So,
See, first I want to put one thing out there. The Public Building Commission held fairly large sums of money in reserve that the county requested the Public Building Commission to use. Some of that was never reimbursed from the county. I want to make that clear, that there was money spent by the Public Building Commission on behalf of the county with the idea that the county was going to reimburse the Public Building Commission back. They did not. And other things transpired from that point on. So, you know, I think you should make that clear. This is funds that the county never paid the Public Building Commission.
At this point in time, the Public Building Commission has paid out $688,938 of DLR bills. We also paid out $21,903 of testing bills, all towards the sheriff's station. Our most recent payment on behalf of the county was for $285,828. In addition to that, we paid the Robin Schwartz legal bills, which were $28,062. Last year, when the health department roof leaked and you asked us to address that, that was $223,700 that were not reimbursed. So there have been considerable expenses paid by the PBC, and we understood that the intention was we used to carry fairly huge balances. And with the county committees getting more involved in your capital projects, the need for those huge balances aren't there. So there was an intentional effort to work those balances down, and we did that. The shortages that you have, we have right now, result from finishing up Sunny Hill, finishing up Health Department, and finishing up tearing down the Eagle Building. And you know, when you do this, and it's fairly fluid because we're dealing with fairly large numbers, to work it down to zero balance gets to be a very difficult thing to do with the number of bills that are coming in and the sizes from various different projects. So you do also have in your budget for the PVC this year, $400,000. And of course, PVC doesn't get that money until June. Everybody else accesses their money December 1st. So, you know, that's the other reason we've carried balances, to get us 7 months into the next year. So,
And the reason I bring this up, when you say we'll pay the bills, it's somehow the Public Building Commission, I think it implies somehow the Public Building Commission just didn't quite do their job or was not responsible. It was the county that was not responsible by not paying the Public Building Commission, even though it's the county's money. But when you exceeded and you took the commission down to nothing, so they couldn't pay anything, including their operational costs, you know, I want to make it clear, that exists because of the county's actions, not of the Public Building Commission's actions. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Melissa's got some background on that too.
Jim, everything that Mr. Mike had said, the invoices and those bills, the PVC wrote everything out. The only thing that I can't, when we sent over the money for PVC for specific stuff, like with Karen and Rashawn and I, we sit down and we sent over a chunk of money. In our notes, we had it for the Laraway sewer and water. Unfortunately, the PVC doesn't have the extensive accounts that we work out of. When we send money over to the PVC, it's unfortunately one huge big pot of money. And when Sue got the bills for us, it was same in, same out. I'm not saying that all of those projects were done by the PVC. We don't really have the trail of things on our end to see. We believe all of that was paid. Were there projects done that
Listen,
exceeded?
I disagree with you. I will tell you, did you send money over for DLR, and then we pulled the project back and gave it to the county? I mean,
But Jim,
Melissa, you don't know this for certain. You do not. Like you say, you sent it over, you kept sending projects over, and you kept saying, we're sending the money. I
did
never.
send the money.
Okay, then you show me where the money, how the money was
We
sent.
did sit down with the staff and we did.
How can you sit down with them or not? You didn't send them the money that they had expended. You show me.
Nick, yes?
I mean, I guess my question is this. We have bills on a project that the county authorized, and it's always been the case. The county board directs the PVC to do projects for the county. It hasn't been always the case, Mr. Lewis is right, that we haven't always sent money. But there's, up until recently, there was always a large pot of money that was not committed to things that PVC did some projects on their own that didn't get direction from the county board. So they were spending money.
Like what,
But-
Nick? You tell me the projects they
Jim,
did
I don't know
without
why this is
direction.
so.
Because you know why?
Let's go through the numbers then. Let's go through
Okay,
every
let's go
project
through the numbers.
and we'll find out. Because
Let's
that's
go
all,
through
at
the
the end of the
numbers.
day, all we want to do is, the county wants to pay the bills that they've incurred.
You know,
But if you look.
you
at the-
show me the projects they did on their
I've
own.
challenged all the board members to look at the agenda for the PVC. It's sorely lacking in the details that the county board has. When the county board's agendas come out, all the details are there. For years, the Public Building Commission agendas have virtually no details.
It's
So
not
you-
true. What details are you talking about?
Jim, come on.
When they pay the bills, it's very detailed, more detailed than we've done here. Every single dollar that was spent out is done by resolution.
Look at the agendas and go to a meeting.
You look at them.
I have. There's no details. You guys run through the meeting so fast. There's no details.
What are you
there.
talking about, there's no details? Every single invoice that is paid
I would say-
has a resolution backing it up with additional support.
I would suggest the county board look at what projects have been sent over there, what's been paid over there. If you want to, we want to go through every minutia detail, but.
Yeah, let's do that.
But what we were trying to do
Let's
today,
do-
I think.
let's do that.
The staff from everybody has said, let's pay it out of capital. And we have other issues with the River Valley that we have to deal with, which we're gonna have more discussion on later this year.
The
And
only
then that
other
frees
reason
up
I
some money.
wanted the recommendation was to come from 304 is because the majority of those other projects, that they were all for our Sunny Hill nursing home, the renovate, so I don't, personally, I don't want River Valley money paying for Sunny Hill when we can see that 99% of the majority of that project.
That's fine.
were for
I'm trying to
Sunny
make a
Hill.
point. Listen, You know, there's been some people who've been trying to dismantle the Public Building Commission for the last 10 years, you know, and I suppose they succeeded. But I'll tell you this, the day will come and you're gonna regret it. All because somebody else thinks they're gonna get a little bit more power, or a few more jobs, or whatever the heck they think they're gonna get. It's a lot of baloney. So, anyway, fine. That's what you gotta do, you got a motion in a second, vote on it. I'm just trying to make a point here.
Okay.
Our process.
Joe, what do you, what suits you guys? Joe,
Yeah, you know,
as long as they get
I-
paid, Joe.
Well, I understand as long as they get paid. I think it makes most sense to transfer the $300,000 out of the reserve account. Let us pay the bills, they've already been approved. If we start going back down the other road, you know, then we're gonna be sending, and you can look at your own resolution. You passed a resolution for D&O for $688,000. That alone, we wrote the check. I mean, that has nothing to do with Sunny Hill. $28,000 for testing has nothing to do with it. For years and years and years, the two organizations did a lot of things on faith, okay? I'm not saying it's right, it's wrong, that's the way business was done. And at the time, the PBC, we used to carry a couple of $1 million in reserves, Gloria. That's been worked down through all these bills. What Melissa says is absolutely correct. They would say, okay, here's money for a certain project. Well, it went into the operating account, but in the meantime, we also have a resolution from you to use our reserves to pay for $28,000 for new septic at Sunny Hill. So where's that money coming from? It's coming out of our operating account. So my recommendation, you know, you've done this in the past, you did the resolution for Kankakee. Why you don't do it, if it was good enough to give Kankakee over $1 million out of theirs, why don't you follow the same procedure and transfer $300,000 from the O&M reserve account and put it into the operating account? PBC pays their bills, and then we deal with this negotiation. Because at this point in time, the O&M account for Kankakee has $30,000 in it, okay? You have $2.5 million in your account, and your overall balances for River Valley are $4.6 million. So, you know, the PBC has managed River Valley pretty astutely to run up a $4.5 million reserve account there. So that would be my recommendation to you.
I also, I have to admit, I may not know when I don't know. That's why I want that. So, I like the proposal to pay it out of capital rather than the transfer. What is the thought process?
The only thought process that staff had was the majority, I mean, for us to take from River Valley for the Sunny Hill projects, for us it just didn't. So staff can make recommendations for you or the other.
Let me tell you the reality of this. You know, the Public Building Commission now is handling over all the maintenance. Even though there is a 10-year contract, of lease, I should say, still in place for maintenance for the Public Building Commission, both from Will County and Kankakee County. Chances of that going forward, I think, is probably slim. Because even though the county's doing the maintenance for the River Valley, it's actually the responsibility of the Public Building Commission. Therefore, the Public Building Commission pays the county out of that account. And once the Public Building Commission is out, then all the money gets turned back over. You know, I do think it's something that's fairly clean. It doesn't really make any difference to me. I don't quite understand why you take it out of capital rather than that fund. You're overfunded. Primarily, that because of the job of the Public Building Commission, and because they were, you know, very diligent in how they use those funds, and because they don't hire a bunch of people, they do it with a very lean staff. There's a lot of money there. And if you go look at that building, you think it still looks brand new. But that money, that $4 million is gonna get handed over. Probably within the next year anyway.
All right,
to the
well, if that's the
county.
case, the sum is 320,000, where's it more?
300 is
300.
transferred.
All right, then I'd make a motion to transfer $300,000 from the O&M reserve cash fund to the operating fund, correct? Is that worded properly? Kim?
We have a motion on the floor, do you want
We
to?
have a motion?
Yeah.
No, we did not. He
We
just
didn't?
came forward to speak, so we need a motion to,
So basically, it's a motion,
I made the motion.
okay, so it's coming out of the O and M, going into operations for the 300,000, that's your motion.
it's what the reso shows, it's what the way the reso is set up.
So the resolution is nothing.
All you'd be doing is authorizing the Public Building Commission to use $300,000 for those.
We have a first and a second, any other discussion?
I cannot second.
Oh.
Because I'm.
Can I need that.
Yeah.
Because there are laws regarding transferring funds among monies and revenues and appropriations among different funds, and I'm not 100% sure. Well, I know at the beginning of a budget year, you want to reallocate that and appropriate it in a certain way, you can do that, but in the middle of the year, you can always take money from corporate and put it into a special fund, but you cannot take money from a special fund and put it back into corporate. And I am not 100% clear listening to this conversation exactly what is going on.
Mary, this is not in our budget. This is directing PVC, so it's not in the county budget at all. It doesn't affect our budget at all.
This is the River Valley.
The county, the Public Building Commission, I'm gonna use the Kankakee. Kankakee wanted to sell their money. The Public Building Commission took a look at it and said,
Right, we had the opinion from Ray Strickland
right,
saying
and said,
that they
okay,
released
this is
the funds as long as it was.
overfunded.
There were limitations on that, and that those buildings
I think that once the county gets the money, I think they can use it any way they want. I mean, it does not have to be used. It's basically, you're declaring that it is overfunded and returning some of the money. That's what really is. But, let me say this, because time is a factor, you know, if this is gonna delay it, then they gotta, is there to pay off the bill.
And so the commission understands, the reason Mr. Fricky got involved was that Kankakee had bonds outstanding. So he wanted to just make sure that there was adequate reserve money there to pay bondholders. And of course, Kankakee's bonds are now paid. So now there are no bondholders.
Another issue, because they defaulted on.
They defaulted on their
Plus, we
payment.
took it out of their maintenance account.
Correct. So there are no bondholders for Kankakee or for Will County. And this is moving money, not from any county account. This is within PBC, where we're moving money from the River Valley O&M to the operating account.
Mary, are you good with this resolution or not?
You know, I think I need to look on paper and see what's happening.
So if that's the case, then we need to take this from CAP so we can get this paid. All right, so you don't have a second on your motion anyway, so can I get a motion to take the money from CAP?
I'll make a motion to take it from here.
Have a second. Have a second. Any other discussion?
So we don't need this, now we're going to cash.
No, you can always take from corporate and pay the
Right.
bills. That's okay.
All right?
My only question is, can you pay in other entities' bills? These are not county.
No, they're gonna send the money over,
Oh, okay.
correct? Send the money over.
I don't even understand it.
Gloria, do you understand this?
I'm reading the documents here. Originally, I thought it was a very clean transfer of funds.
And not anymore.
And now it is getting a little more complicated. So I understand where it's coming out of capital and you're still allowing payments to transfer out, but I just wanna make sure if we do this, we wanna make sure it's a system that's always gonna be a system in place that's gonna be repeatable. And we wanna make sure what we're doing is clean and people understand. If all of a sudden we're making a change, we know it's gonna be a standard change, is that the standard change that we wanna have? So I think we even discussed this, so I was a little about what this was.
Can I just say this, just for me, sorry? It's all county money.
Right, it is.
It's all county money. This is almost like saying, you know, we're transferring $300,000 to the sheriff's office so he can pay some bills, whatever. This is really very similar to that. You know, the Public Building Commission works under the direction of the county board and the city of Joliet. That's who the members are of the Public Building Commission. So, this is just saying we're sending money over, transferring money over so they can pay bills. That's it. I may have confused it by some other things I've said, I'm sure.
Just a little bit.
But let me simplify it now, you know? And then we're just transferring money over so they can pay bills that Public Building Commission actually has already approved.
So essentially, if we were to transfer the money, that means we would transfer the money to pay the bills, but if we pay bills on capital, we're gonna transfer the money to pay the bills.
All right, so we have motion,
Oh,
and
Rick,
a second.
say that.
We're back. It's the same thing.
I thought I had it straight.
There was a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right. Can I have Mr. Nudera up here, increasing appropriation in the sheriff's budget? Mr. Nudera.
What we would like to do is take monies that we've received and then transfer them into an account or transfer them over the budget so we can expend them.
Do you have something to expend them on already, or are you just putting them in the account?
This is what, it's pre-adjudication money from federal seizures.
Right.
So the money comes in, we need to put it in a line item where we can expend it, so if we get a court order to pay back or pay whoever, that money's there.
All right, any other questions?
How much is it?
$148,000.
148? Right.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion then?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Jerry. Next up, we have a contribution to United Way.
They're gonna give it to the public building official.
I can't even open. I don't have a backup on the computer.
There's no backup.
No, there's nothing.
I know.
Sorry. Out of the Laraway host agreement, there
Right.
was a provision in there when, that United Way acts as,
Conduit.
conduit for us. That we need to put a motion, resolution for the March County Board agenda to send the money to United Way to distribute those funds again. It's the beginning of their season, so it's $50,000.
Oh, that's what I was-
Waste management.
I knew it was 50, but I wasn't listening.
Nothing was on
There was nothing on it, that's
You know
why.
what, I'll have Beth pull that resolution that we did last year. and
Right,
in the
same.
agreement, it's the exact same.
So moved.
Yeah, so you need to, every year you need to
Have a
get that
second?
trigger again.
Second.
Second,
I got a question.
yes.
The 50,000 is coming from the waste management contract?
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Once
host
we send the
agreement.
50,000, is it then out of our hands, United Way, can direct it however they choose?
When Bruce drafted up that agreement, he did, him and Mary worked on, because there's only 3 provisions that Will County can give proceeds to. They are, United Way, they only give it to those agencies that qualify for those 3 provisions. So it's not just to all of their 48 agencies. I wanna say there's like 29 that qualify for that $50,000. So they are very specific when they do put those monies out. So they're acting on our behalf, but they got strict guidelines when we did it. Because there's only certain things that we can give money for. It does say that in that agreement, and I'll pull that for you guys.
Any other questions?
The only other United Way that's gonna be coming, Will County's, its employees does do an employee match, but that's 2 separate pots. So they'll be coming forward again with United Way, the employee match up to $25,000. That's 2 separate pots, but they will be coming forward. I don't remember when we do that, but it's 2 separate things. So you'll see United Way coming again.
And at any point, does the county have any input on where that money is directed
regarding this 50,000 for the employee.
Yes, in the agreement, we can only give it to, like, United Way has, I don't know if it was a specific number, it was like 48 partner agencies. Only a certain handful of those qualify for our contributions, so when United Way interviews those, only a certain handful will qualify for our chunk of money.
We set those guidelines up when we first started doing this. So-
We only have 3 or 4 ways that we can give money, so a specific handful of those agencies qualify for that.
Nick?
Just a quick comment to that too, for those boarders who are here. We set that policy up because United Way has a process to accept
Yeah.
agencies in.
Right.
They have the bookkeeping and the protocol to kind of review all that. And the county, I think, decided, I think this was the thinking, rather than try to recreate that whole apparatus here, we were already partnered with United Way. We were already making employee contributions and we were matching, as Melissa said, up to a certain point. This was new money that was charitable from Waste Management as part of that negotiation. So it was just using their process, but limiting, as Melissa said, to those agencies we legally can give it to.
Right.
And board members, if they wanted to participate, I suppose, could get on United Way's, there's a
Oh,
selection.
actually, they were reaching out for members to go on those committees, so
Right.
by all means.
So,
Mike Hennessy, I'm sure when he comes to the board meeting, will make that request, but.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is transferring and increasing appropriations in various county budgets to fund year-end shortfalls. As I said last month, we're gonna have a couple shortfall cleanups. Sean?
Correct, good morning. So this is basically the second round, and these are for bills that have already been paid. It's just moving the available funds into some of the line items.
We have a motion? Moved to second. All in favor? Yes, sir. You have a question?
I'm in favor of it. If you want to take that vote, I'm in favor. We're going to have discussion prior to that.
Discuss.
Okay, just had a question. When can we expect, and I've spoken to Mike about this on a couple of occasions, when can we expect a report back from the county about how did our budget end as far as 2016?
You're about to hear it.
Wonderful, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And now?
All right. So what you have before you is the year-end results for November 30th. Page 1 basically shows the year-to-date corporate revenue with the accruals pie chart. And it basically shows the 3 largest categories for revenue that we collect, which is our property taxes at 35%, intergovernmental at 30%, and the charges for services at 18%. And then under year-to-date corporate expenses, our 3 largest categories again is salaries and fringes at 80%, 5% for professional and technical services, and 5% for supplies. Then on page 2, we have our corporate cash balance, a look over 25 months. You'll note we ended the fiscal year with 48.9 million. That's 1.1 million up from November 15. On page 3, shows our revenue and expense recap by category. You'll note it's broken out into 3 sections: our budget, actual, and comparison. So we'll focus on the middle section, the actual. So actual total revenue, year-to-date actual was 186.6 million, with accruals 190 million for revenue. So we brought in about 96.8% of revenue for 16. Then under expenses, 189.3 million, with accruals 189.8. And just to note, go back for a second, revenue was slightly up from prior year, and expenses stayed about the same from prior year. And on page 4 and 5 is just a little detailed look of our revenue by category there. I won't go into too much detail there, but it just shows basically for each category the line items that are under each category. And I can just say we did fairly well in some categories. Our sales taxes, we did pretty good. Charges for services, not too bad. Then in page 6 is our expense activity by department, and it basically shows under the actual section, the fourth column, the percent of annual budget expended to date, and you'll note here the percentage of the budget that was expended for each department. And a few departments were over the 100%. And then the last page, page 7, shows a little bit more in detail based on salary and fringes and all the other categories. And you'll note that highlighted in red departments that were over in salaries and fringes. There were no departments that were over in all other commodities. Any questions?
Just one. All of this is kind of self-explanatory to me, except for the Board of Review.
The Board of Review, I think they had someone in that under their fringes, they were a little over because of the calculation. They have someone who is on the ECHO, so instead of the regular IMRF calculation, so that was
Okay.
the difference
All
there.
right. Yeah, that threw us off. Okay, I understand.
Have any other questions? Thank you, Wishing.
So there you have it.
Thank you. All right, and lastly, we have authorizing county executive to execute necessary documents for delinquent tax program. Motion. Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any other new business? Public comment? Do we have any public comments? Public comment? Having none. I don't have any reports. We don't have an executive session. Motion to adjourn. Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Next meeting is April 4th.